this be accomplished? I know you're all
As a man, I'm flesh and blood. I can be ignored, I can be destroyed, but as a symbol, as a symbol, I can be incorruptible.
He gave us a signal.
Where are you?
Something elemental, something terrifying.
Welcome back to Cavecast. We are on episode 6. We are continuing our discussion about the cop and the butler. Well, we got to the butler last week, but we didn't get to the cop. So with me is my trusty panelists. We have Iron Oxide and Drunken Emeralero. And how you guys doing this wonderful Saturday morning? You got your cereal ready to go, ready to talk some Batman?
Oh, absolutely, man. Got the coffee ready. I'm up for it.
Yep. Coffee is sitting in my cup and we're ready to go.
I think I already finished mine, but that's fine. I don't need to get jittery. Let's say hello to the chat. It's still relatively early in the morning, but usually by the time we get going, it starts to get bumping. We got Ryu, first one in. Good morning. Scream Queen Selena. Sonia, one of the best mods out there. EB, good to see you. Yes. Yes, everyone like the stream, share the stream. Be one of my minions, be one of the 3 tards. Oh, we already we have Mrs. 3-Pete, happy Batter Day, 3 tards and friends of the channel. Jake Martin, good to see you. Bly, always good to see you, buddy. And that's pretty much all we got for now. So let's get into it. This microphone, I don't like the way that it's placed. Let's try that. That's better. Joker voice, thanks for stopping in, buddy. Yes, it is taco night in Arkham Asylum, as we all know. And if you're wondering why they don't have it on a Tuesday, it's because it's a madhouse. But James, Jim Gordon, he's a character that has been around since the very first appearance of Batman, Detective Comics number 27. He's actually in the first panel. He's smoking a pipe with Bruce Wayne, and Bruce Wayne is talking about how bored he is. He's an elderly man for a long time now. Now I'd say he's probably like what in his. It's got to probably like in his late 40s, early 50s now. Yeah, 55. 55 sounds about good.
Yeah, I would always put him right at that kind of that sweet spot between 50 and 60 ish. Yeah. Considered seasoned for sure. Definitely one of the older of the group, but not quite at retirement age or not willing to retire yet. You know, kind of the Danny Glover and Lethal Weapon.
Yeah, but also still old enough to get down. You know, like
exactly.
He I mean I can appreciate for for a while they made him more elderly because it was just you would expect someone in that position to be a little bit on the older side. But I mean if as his lore grew, if you look with all the military training and things that he's been a part of, it would make sense that Jim Gordon takes care of himself and still spry,
Right.
Actually we'll go. I like the Wikipedia page that they got for him. This is right where I would like kind of expect him to to be. Now, sometimes they show him with red hair, and a mustache, but as long, one, he's got to have the mustache. I'll give it to the 66, portrayal, but this is Jim Gordon, the way that I would like to see him. He's got to have the trench coat, he's got to have the glasses, he's got to have the mustache.
Absolutely.
No, wouldn't you know it? The Joker's not a fan of Jimmy.
Yeah. No shock there. Now
we're gonna get him on the
JK,
show.
I know we're going to talk about the live action iterations of him, but J.K. Simmons was a very missed opportunity because that was some good casting.
Yeah.
An older guy, takes real good care of himself, looks very capable, got the stash.
Yeah, right now I'd say who I'd like to see in the role is probably someone like a Bryan Cranston. Would be a good pick as well.
Definitely a good pick.
But yeah, I totally a missed opportunity with J.K. Simmons. But let's face it, he'll forever be J. Jonah Jameson.
Yeah.
Although the man is a chameleon, he's a wonderful actor. But so we can bow out of that. We can get ourselves back in our nice little tree there, a little triangular set. So yeah, he's the police commissioner of Gotham City. In a lot of iterations, he's one of the only cops who isn't corrupt, which is sometimes strange because when usually these things are corrupt from the top down, but in a lot of iterations, you realize this is a corrupt police department that he kind of inherited, and when you have corrupt government, they're going to hire corrupt people. He just happens to be one of the people who aren't that way. So he's because of that, he's one of the few trusted allies in Batman's wheelhouse. And a lot of times, especially like in year one, and I don't want to say early adaptations of the character, but when they show iterations of Batman in his early career, usually Detective Gordon or even newly done Commissioner Gordon is like one of the reasons that Batman isn't arrested. Also, the police department isn't very good at arresting Batman. He's quite good at getting away. But Sparkles.
Hey. No, I always liked when they did show that, showing him go from either detective or even just lieutenant, but it really took him and Bruce's commitment to weeding out and fighting the internal corruption that led to his becoming in a position of power to really take it on.
Yes.
Yeah, because he didn't do much as a lower. So yeah, as soon as he became actually the head of the police, that's when that relationship actually blossomed into really overall a shared interest and essentially a shared goal between the two, which is to root out the corruption and to essentially clean up Gotham City.
See, I'm just reading this in the publication here, history, created by Bill Finger. It's nice that they have Bill Finger in front of Bob Kane now, because as we have talked on this channel many times, Bob Kane is the creator of Batman, basically in name only. A lot of things brought to the lore were brought by Bill Finger, and it's great that he's finally maybe 10 years into the 85 year history of Batman that he's actually starting to get the credit that he deserves. Not that Bob Kane didn't do anything. He was an excellent promoter, but as far as the creative aspect of Batman, he had very little to do with that. But Gordon debuted it, just like I said, in the first panel of Detective Comics number 27 in May 1939, in which he was referred to simply as Commissioner Gordon. The character's name was taken from an earlier pulp character, which a lot of these early comics had heavy pulp influences, like the Shadow, things like that. But from character Commissioner James W. Wildcat Gordon, also known as the Whisperer, created in 1936 by Harry Ralston, John Nanovic, and Lawrence Donovan for Street and Smith. So, huge pulp influences on Batman. going, some of the bigger influences, like I said, was like the Shadow, the Phantom. He said, like Zorro, even though that's not like a pulp character, but that was definitely a film hero at the time. So of Scottish descent, Gordon had served in the United States Marine Corps. I did not know that. I knew that he had some military training, but because in Batman Year One, they kind of just made it sound like he was special ops because he kind of has a line like, "Oh, I eat Green Berets for breakfast," or he takes out Detective Flass pretty quickly. As a matter of fact, I'm pretty sure there's like 6 guys on him, and he does pretty well. At one point, so prior to becoming a police officer, he was in the Marine Corps. Most versions of the Batman mythos, Jim is at one point or another depicted as police commissioner, friend of the channel, commissioner. Gordon frequently contacts Batman for help for solving various crimes committed by supervillains, which that was the basic premise, especially in the old ones, is that's what the bat signal was for. The regular police weren't really suited to handle a guy like the Joker, where he was like, this guy is randomly gassing rooms full of people and they all die laughing. Especially when you think about like crime scene investigation in the 1930s, it was like, it's nowhere near what it is today. It made a lot more sense that you would call upon someone who kind of operates outside of the law, because when you think about it, in the 30s, the concept of a supervillain was a new idea. That was it was something brand new. So much so that you have a lot of these golden age supervillains, quote unquote, describing themselves as supervillains, saying, well, I am a supervillain. Well, regular cops can't deal with a supervillain. We need a superhero. So let's see. So so he has the bat signal. And when did the bat signal first show up? Let's take a look. So the first appearance of the bat signal was in Detective Comics issue 60, so in 1942. So relatively early on in the mythos.
5 years, still in the first 5 years of Batman.
So let's see. It's become kind of a running joke of sorts that Batman will often disappear in the middle of the discussion. Yes, it is not a true interaction between Batman and Commissioner Gordon unless Gordon says something and he turns around and Batman has dipped out. And if for some reason he turns around and Batman's still there, it's something is serious. Like, I can't even imagine what it would be, and be like, Jim, we need to talk about your drinking.
Right.
It was like, oh my God, he's still there. So it's been a running joke of sorts that Batman will often disappear in the middle of discussion when Jim Gordon has his back turned. Gordon usually is depicted as a Caucasian with silver or red hair, eyeglasses, and a mustache. In most incarnations, he is wearing a trench coat, a necktie, and on occasion a fedora hat. Yeah, I don't need the fedora hat. It's not needed. The trench coat's more than enough. As a matter of fact, I kind of like the no trench coat or no fedora, trench coat, glasses, but you definitely need that silhouette of Jim Gordon with the trench coat and the glasses and that big old burly. Let's see. He's also sometimes pictured with a cane, although it's not revealed why he uses it. Yeah, I don't like that. Because DC retconned its character's history in 1985 on Crisis of Infinite Earths, which we will eventually get to when we start talking about. That's going to be further down the line. But all you need to know right now is Crisis on Infinite Earths was Besides, I would say Flash of Two Worlds, which I would say is like the first major retcon in DC Comics. This is by far, this is the first major retcon of the entire DC library, where they just wanted to clean up a little bit of the continuity. Yeah,
See,
there we go.
The fedora I don't like. Actually, I don't like, especially with Commissioner Gordon. I don't like the trench coat all closed up like that. I kind of
Nope.
like it when it's
You need the tie. You need it open, so it almost needs to blow in the wind like Batman's cape. It needs to be open. You need to see the tie. I don't like the cane because, as we said earlier, now back in the day, people would have canes because it was stylish. That's fine, but if we're going into a modern setting, I like Jim Gordon to be, formidable in his own right. The fedora is fine. I'm okay with it with the what we have here is like the sail lobe art style, like Long Halloween. That's fine. Is this from Long Halloween Part 2?
Might be.
I think so.
Because they just did it, so that wouldn't be
no. I know.
Yeah, I've never seen this before, so that's why my mind went might be, because this looks more recent, just in that classic style.
It's definitely it's done in a Tim Sale style, but that's definitely Tim Sale's Batman back there. But it doesn't appear to be. I don't think that's what it is, unless it's like concept art or something like that. But it's a little watercolory for Tim Sale. But we
I can't see. Let me see if I can. I doubt it's gonna let me, but let me see if I can.
Doing a reverse search. Yeah.
No, right at the bottom. I'm trying to read. 2002.
Then it must
maybe
have
it
been
is
from the original.
It has to be.
I think you're right. I think it was probably just concept art for it, because either I don't remember this or it's the first time seeing it. I do love this image, and while you can that still screams Jim Gordon. I'm with you guys. Kill the hat, no cane, and I like the suit kind of like open, like he's just too busy to ever button the shit up.
This, actually, this is probably so. If it's 2002, it's right after, because Dark Victory, I'm pretty sure, ended in 2001. Dark Victory would be the sequel to the Long Halloween, which, I mean, both of those we will have a discussion about. Yeah, okay. Well, sorry, nerding out for a second as we. but nerding out off topic is the most important thing. So yeah, I mean that's basically what it is, who he is. There's not much we can talk about different things. His daughter is Barbara Gordon, who will probably we'll get into discussion if
family.
Well, not next week, because next week I'm out of town. We have the Vegas meetup, so yeah, you guys are hearing it first. There will be no Cave Cast next week, and there will be no In Other News, because 3-Pete doing some traveling, and yeah, I've yet to decide if we're gonna do Barbara Gordon next, or if we're I really kind of want to do all the Robins in a row. So once we get to Dick Grayson, I want it followed by Jason Todd, then Tim Drake, and then Damian, and those will be the only Robins that we're discussing, because the other ones are usually like one shots or
Carrie Kelly.
yeah. People always bring up Carrie Kelly, and it was like, dude, she's in like 2 things. Or it was like when Spoiler was Batgirl for like a second, and it was like that's not the we're looking for status quo, not just someone had their foot in the door for like a second, or DC tried it out and for a couple issues and it didn't work out. It's not what we're doing here. We're trying to give people a good jumping off point. So yes, James Gordon does have a wife that he's usually estranged with, named Barbara Gordon. He also has a daughter named Barbara Gordon, which was weird, but in the original iterations, Barbara Gordon was his niece, I believe. So that was they eventually retcon that. And for you noobs, retcon is short for retroactive continuity. That's where you change something and then go about like it always was that way. But so Barbara Gordon is his daughter. He also has a son, James Gordon Jr., who is his own thing. He ends up kind of being a he grows up to be a serial killer pretty much, and is he's a bit of a handful as far as that goes.
Yeah, it kind of makes you rethink that whole last scene of The Dark Knight.
Yeah. There's because that happens in Batman Year 1 too, and a lot of people say it was like the trauma of that, and I was like, I'm pretty sure he's an infant when it was like I don't there's the things that probably happened to me. Yeah, he is a rambunctious little fella. He's a bit of a scoundrel. He's a
handful.
Yep, he sure is.
That little scamp. He just killed a few more.
See, I'm not a fan of any of that. It's like
no, not am I. Not everybody has to have like it dampens and it kind of no, it actually doesn't dampen. It dilutes certain things where like if everybody has to have like a certain relationship to somebody else, you're like, oh, okay. Where it was like, oh, well, the Joker was actually your second cousin, and
right.
like, come on, like,
no, it would have been perfectly acceptable for him to just grow up and be like a normal guy. Maybe have a profession in some form or capacity of law enforcement, because that kind of is where the family's from. He could have been another district attorney. He could have been somebody working in the crime lab, or just a beat cop. Being just a even
just a guy with a chip on his shoulder because dad wasn't around.
Yep.
And it was like, you named me after you, but you didn't have the good decency to fucking raise me because, you're in, the most dangerous fictional city of all time. And, it
would have even been interesting to just kind of make him a fuck up, make him somebody who just, like the failure to hit the landing growing up, maybe some substance problems,
exactly.
Kind of a low-key criminal who would eventually find his role.
Yeah, it was like I started drinking. The Joker like crippled my sister. And it would be, it doesn't have to always be, I guess so extreme. But go ahead.
Because I mean, the whole point, him growing up with the cop as the father and stuff, and constantly doing the dangerous jobs, it would make complete sense for him not to be a little bit of a fuck up, in the sense that he does get into that stuff because the world is beating him down, because that is Gotham City. So even though his father is Commissioner Gordon, it doesn't mean, I mean, it would be almost based in reality. That happens a lot in a lot of families. It would be very relatable in the sense for people to look at and go, yeah, I know what that, I know someone in my family that's the same thing. You could have a successful in the sense of Barbara, and she's gone and she's doing the Batman thing. But yeah, unfortunately, in the case of James Jr., well, life isn't the same for him, and he really had a rough go at it.
Yeah,
because
I would much rather see an awkward Thanksgiving dinner than it was like, oh, he's a serial killer, where or it's just like he says something and he's just kind of like, you know what, screw you, Dad, like you weren't even here. We had to worry about people bombing the house all the time. That's why Mom left. Well, Mom left because of Sarah, but we'll get into Sarah in a second.
Oh boy.
Wink wink phrasing. But it yeah, like I said, it dampens it. And it also brings it grounds the character a little bit better, and it makes it more realistic, where yes, this would be a real world problem that a lot of cops actually have, where especially detectives. Like, you're on call. My mother would tell me times. So my grandfather was a Detroit police detective. He ended up being an inspector. There would be times where, like, his shift was over, he would get home and sit down, and the phone would ring, and he would have to go right back out again. That's just
Yeah.
that's just the job. And if he did make it home to go to sleep, woe betide the poor soul who woke my grandfather up, because he was probably up for a good 40 hours before he actually got to go home and go to sleep. Like, it's a tough gig. And and a lot of these guys do get drinking problems because of the hours. And let's just face it, when you're working all hours of the night and not seeing daylight, you get fucking weird. These things are real world problems. It would have been way better than to go like, yeah, no, he's a serial killer. And I was like, sure, any parent
Taking
would
it
be
to that
affected.
extreme.
Yeah, it wasn't needed. And that's just one of those things where so to get off topic, like the death of Superman, how that happened is, every year they sit down and they try to find an arc for the character that's going to happen that year. And Superman's not always easy to write for. And every single year, what's his face, was it Dan Jurgens, said, why don't we just kill him? And and one year everyone went, you know what, fine. It's one of those things where it was just like, well, what do we do? Jim Gordon's got a son, let's just make him a serial killer. And it was
Serial
like, well, you
killer.
didn't have to do that. It was like, if you actually would have sat down and gave it some forethought, you could have gave something that not only gives Jim Gordon more depth, but actually gives him a real life problem that other people can experience and might even relate to better. It was like, I don't know about you, I haven't raised a serial killer. I do have family members that people don't like to talk to, or everybody's got like a weird cousin or something. It was like, and that would make more sense. But
Yeah.
unfortunately, that's
Just
what they did.
making him a simple screw up with some problems, maybe some run-ins with the law would have been a way, and it could have even been more compelling and given him, more reason to try to save him, and him to try and find his place, with his family later on. Could have led to some good stories, but they
kind
went
of the child
so far.
kind of the child that kind of got left behind and always in danger, because again, yes, the Commissioner Gordon definitely is a target, so he's the family's constantly under a target. It'd be simple for him to be the forgotten child and taking that resentment and then getting into alcohol, drug abuse, run-ins, minor crimes, run-in with cops, and things like that. It would make complete sense. I mean, that actually I think would be a lot. It makes more sense for a character development for Gordon's son.
Yes. Now, here's
definitely
something that I'd be remiss if we didn't discuss. James Gordon Jr. is not the original name of his son. So pre-crisis, it was Tony Gordon or Anthony Gordon, who he was originally like a college student, and I think he disappeared hiding from like communist spies or something. He got entangled. But that's pre-crisis. Like we said, Crisis on Infinite Earths is a lot of characters' continuity got changed because the universe got changed. It was, that's just something that they did just to kind of clean up shop. But that was something. And Barb, even though in early iterations she might have been referred to as his niece, whatever, that it's supposed to be his biological daughter. And I don't even think his wife had a name pre-crisis. Post-crisis, it was Barbara. I don't remember her middle name. It doesn't matter. I'm sure. Wait, hold on. Let me scroll. I'm sure I'll find it. Barbara Elaine Keene. So Barbara Keene ended up being Jim Gordon's first wife, ex-wife. They became estranged because, like we talked about, the job is difficult. There's time away. Another good reason to make Jimmy a little resentful. And then the third reason that Jimmy could also be a screw up and a little resentful is fellow detective Sarah Essens, who Jim Gordon basically has an affair with, ends up, divorcing his wife, and then he's married to Sarah for quite some time. I'm pretty sure until No Man's Land, which we will get
Oh
into No
boy.
Man's Land. We'll get into it a little bit today because it's very important to the character of Jim Gordon. But basically, there was a storyline called Cataclysm. That is where a huge earthquake hits Gotham City. It gets flooded out, and the government decides that it's no go. It's beyond repair. So they basically just sanction it off and blow all the bridges, and everybody who is stuck on Gotham Island is fending for themselves. So Jim Gordon takes a big part in that, but the Joker ends up killing Sarah. But for a while they were married for a long time in there. But it all, that's another thing that humanizes Jim. He's spending more time with this fellow detective, instead of his wife, and he's not home with his kids. He eventually falls for this woman, who's a great, well-written character, and a wonderful detective in her own right. But it's wrong. It's not a good thing to cheat on your wife. Yeah, there we go, Sarah. Just a good thing. Also, we had a couple more people in the chat here. Jacob, always good to see you. Theo, always good to see you. Sparkles, don't know. Always, I don't know if I said hi to you yet, but always good to see you in the chat there. This is 3 feet. Yep, getting into Sarah, giggity, giggity. But yeah, so that's another thing that we can talk. That humanizes Jim Gordon. To it's not the right thing to do, but it happens. It's not something. So during the New 52. Sarah's marriage to Gordon never happened. I don't like that either. I don't like which the New 52 is problematic in so many different ways, especially with the character of Jim Gordon. We said we only wanted to make this a little like clip note, but there's a point in time in the New 52 where Jim Gordon becomes Batman, and he puts on this robot suit with stupid bunny ears, and that's all I want to say about that. Wasn't good.
And shaves his head and his mustache and looks horrific.
It wasn't it wasn't good. I don't
it's a bad Fortnite skin.
But anyway, so there is something that, so the Cataclysm leads right into something called the No Man's Land, and that is basically the story of kind of like gangs in New York on crack. Is the Gotham Police Department, because they no longer have the resources that they did, kind of become like a street gang, and it's run by Commissioner Gordon. Batman is gone like for months and months because he has a contingency plan, as he does for everything, but it took months and months to come to fruition. So James Gordon actually resents Batman quite a bit for that, because he kind of thinks that's why his wife got murdered, even though like there was really nothing that Batman can plan for. A lot of the things, the Joker is not something that you can plan for. He is a wrench in the engine. But so that is the storyline. Some people love it, some people hate it. It is exceptionally long. I think Nightfall's a little longer if you're going to put all the books side by side, but if you're going to count Cataclysm and No Man's Land together, it is, I can't even fit it in the frame how long of a story that it is.
Massive.
And there's quite some things. I'm trying to think of any other major storylines for Jim Gordon before we start to go into like favorite iterations or different iterations of the character.
I think Long Halloween was probably one of the best, because the depiction of the relationship between Bruce, Jim, and of course Harvey. But then again, it's Long Halloween, which is its own thing.
Yeah, but it's just the same thing with like Batman Year One, where even although I did learn this the other day, so Batman Year One is in proper continuity. So they did that, and it's interesting because that storyline started pre-crisis and ended post-crisis. So, but it's in even though it's usually sold as like a one shot, you buy it all together. Frank Miller, they hired him. It was Detective Comics, whatever issue, Detective Comics, whatever. It was like it's in the actual continuity. They just went back and they just kind of cleaned up Batman's origins, and they kind of gave him a um and it's an astounding work, and there's very few writers who can do something like that so cleanly. I'd say a good example of that would probably be like what Alan Moore did with Swamp Thing, where you took the continuity that came before and then kind of cleaned it up, or even made, I mean, what Alan Moore did with Swamp Thing during the anatomy lesson is probably one of the greatest retcons in comic book history. But not only did you clean up the continuity, you also made it easy to hand it off to someone else where they can keep it running. Like Grant Morrison can do it, but you need a dictionary. And very, very big dialogue bubbles, because that guy will eat up a page. But no, he's capable of doing it. There's a couple people who can do it quite well, but Frank Miller, when 80s Frank Miller is a hard guy to beat. He was just as a matter of fact, I just bought Ronin. I'm gonna read that on the plane ride to Vegas. So I have that, and I brought I've had this for I've had what's the New Frontier forever, Darwin Cook. I've been wanting to sit down and actually read that for a long time. So that's what I'm going to be reading in Vegas. But yeah, I'd say probably one of my favorite iterations of Gordon in like Elseworlds would probably be like Red Rain, when Batman becomes a vampire, which we will talk about when we get to the Elseworld iterations of the character. But he still feels like Commissioner Gordon, and he doesn't seem to be that surprised to run into a vampiric Batman.
Yeah, just another day in Gotham.
Yeah, but even then, after Batman succumbs to his vampirism and actually starts biting criminals, he realizes that Batman is no longer Batman, because the man that he knew would have never killed. So he I think he blows up the Batcave after they take out Vampire Batman. But it is it's an interesting one. Flashpoint, he's still relatively the same. Yeah, so I think we can get into some live action versions.
Well, before, it is interesting just you have the different tones of Commissioner Gordon. The Commissioner Gordon that completely trust Batman, and it just completely relies on him. Then you have the Commissioner Gordon of not necessarily should we trust him? Can I trust him? Well, I don't really like that I'm using him, but he's a necessary evil.
Yes.
Yeah, Gary Oldman
and even a combination
very well.
Yeah.
In Batman Begins and even The Dark Knight. Dark Knight Rises, everything just goes off the rails. But if you're looking for that Jim Gordon, that's the best one. Ben McKenzie in Gotham. We've talked about Gotham before. I don't necessarily like Gotham. And it's that same problem that we had with Jimmy Gordon. Not everybody that Bruce Wayne runs into as a child has to be like part of the mythos, and introducing these characters when Bruce Wayne is a child. Well, the ones who are adults, you're going to tell me that Batman's going to come to blows with like a 60-year-old man, and
right.
It just doesn't transfer. It doesn't transfer over well. Neil Hamilton He was the I think he might be the first on-screen portrayal of Commissioner Gordon, and that's this dude right here.
Yep.
And and that's I mean, for the time, that's about correct for how he was being depicted in the comics. He was an elderly man,
not terrible. Doesn't have the stash. You need the stash.
Mhm.
And it's so funny. So many of the actors in '66 were these great classically trained actors.
Yes.
Cesar Romero, him, fucking all of them were in that.
Yeah, I mean, you had what's this, Burgess Meredith as the Penguin. You actually, I found out something off topic but still on Batman. So the way that Burgess Meredith invented the Penguin cackle is so one of the things in his contract, because of the character at the time, he had that cigarette holder in his mouth. Well, Burgess Meredith didn't smoke. He invented that cackle to clear his throat because he didn't want to inhale the cigarette. So when he's going, wah, wah, so he
shit.
Yeah. So that's a little interesting.
Worked, I mean,
yeah.
Oh, now you can't imagine without it.
Like if you're thinking like a comic book accurate, that Penguin, that's him.
Well, yeah, and I can't wait till we have a when we get to like the Penguin Day, because like for a long time, yeah, he was just this weird little dude who was obsessed with birds, right? There was nothing else about the character. So no one gets a glow up quite like Mr. Freeze and the Penguin. Both of those guys.
Oh yeah.
But here we can talk about this in the animated series.
Here we go.
Now we all know the love affair that Iron has with the animated series.
Yep. Well, no mystery. It's the best.
Now, we talked during Alfred about the father-son relationship between Bruce and Alfred, but there was a lot of that there with him and Jim too. Jim just didn't quite know that was there. It was kind of one-sided.
But also too, this is a great example. I hated when they changed the art style to the new Batman Adventures. Every character suffers in some way or another, where, I mean, even look at, now granted, time has passed, so Gordon is supposed to be older, but I was like, just put him back in the trench coat. Like, I know that they streamlined a lot of things, but I mean, Jesus, they couldn't even make the Joker's lips red. Or it was like, how much money are you trying to save? I mean,
Joker was the worst.
Joker was the worst. I mean, but even Harley Quinn, the only one I guess who kind of got out of there unscathed was Robin. But even Batgirl, they made her look like pale and goth. It was weird. I believe
the stories were still good.
Yeah, the stories were still great. I believe it was Confucius who once said, "Me no Reiki," and I know Reiki. But now we're going to start to get into some actually good adaptations here. The only one that I'm willing to give a break to is Pat Hingle as Commissioner Gordon in 1989. He does not look formidable, and by the time you get into Batman and Robin, now granted he is much older than he was in 89. He's like downright feeble.
And they make him incompetent.
Before, they kind of made him like like, oh my God. And then, that scene where Poison Ivy puts the dust on him, it was just like, he looked worse off than Alfred did. And Alfred was supposed to have like Alzheimer's or whatever the hell, McGregor's syndrome.
See, in the first one, he's not formidable at all. He's a little portly guy, but he made up for it with presence and authority. What he said, I call the shots around here, not
Carl Grisham.
Not Carl Grisham. And just
My
rips
my
the
favorite part
blowhard.
in that whole movie, or not in that whole movie, because I love so many things about that movie. So the Joker sprays acid on the bell in the cathedral and it falls. And there's this giant like cast iron bell, and Commissioner Gordon pushes like 3 cops aside, pushes it twice, and goes, "Nah, let's get out of here." Like it was like, no, you don't want to try like 3 other guys giving it a push, like
Hey, if Jim Gordon can't get it, and it ain't moving.
If 70-year-old Pat Hingle can't move this
Right.
giant bell, even as a kid, I was like, oh, it's kind of like Leonardo DiCaprio at the end of Titanic. Well, like, maybe try one more time to get on the giant fucking door, but
my favorite scene of that version of Jim was right after he says he calls the shots and not Carl Grissom. It's in that same the first Ace Chemicals scenario. And when he's telling his men to be careful, be very careful, it's like, okay, yeah, just the authority. He cares about his cops. He knows what's up. He knows who to trust and who not. He knows that what's his name? They're drinking Drano. I can't remember his name.
Oh, Knox.
Knox.
Who's basically Flass.
Yeah.
But
yeah, he is. He was going to be Flass, but I can't remember why they changed the name. It's the same.
Wasn't Knox
same damn character?
Wasn't Knox the journalist?
Right. Knox was. You're right. Knox.
Yeah,
was the
Knox
journalist.
is the journalist. What is his name? Doesn't matter.
Right.
Eckhart. Yeah.
Eckhart.
Think about the future.
Hey, Eckhart. Think about the future.
Yeah. It's Eckhart. Yeah.
You better be sure.
Oh God, so good. But still, the casting wasn't great for him. Great actor.
Great actor.
He did a great performance. But
well, something that I always have to tell people. So we'll get to, because like we will have a day where all we discuss is 89, because you have to look at it as a singular thing.
Yes.
Movies getting sequels wasn't as big of a thing as it is now, where you're expecting to have a whole franchise. They did not know if this was going to work, so that's why they had the Joker kill Batman's parents. That's why Batman drops Jack Napier into the chemicals. Like, it looks good when you put a little bow on it and say, this is the finished product, this is all we're doing. And at the time, Batman, it wasn't nearly as popular as he is now. He wasn't like the household name that he was. Now, he had popularity in the 60s, but there had been a 20-year lull of him, not being as popular. And also Nadia Seabrew, good to see you.
And 20 years, you got to remember, that wasn't that long. They were still writing the stigma of 66 Batman and the
they did, and they originally wanted they wanted Bill Murray to play Batman and Eddie Murphy to play Robin. That's where they were in the casting, until Burton got on board, and he was like, well, I'm Tim Burton. They're like, well, yes, you are. You can. I don't think you're going to be making a comedy. And thank God that he didn't. And like I said, I was in that sweet spot where the Super Friends were on TV, Batman the Animated Series was on TV, the Adam West television show was still on the Family Channel, and I had Batman Returns and Batman 89 on VHS. So I was like, I at a young age, I was able to decipher that there were so many iterations of this, not to mention the comic books. There were so many iterations of this character already that I could go, oh, like, it really depends on where he is. So I could watch Batman meet up with Scooby-Doo and have the Joker being like, I live in a bowling alley, Batman. And then you have the Joker shocking somebody to a point where they're like a corpse, and Antoine got a little hot under the collar, and you're like, oh, well, this is wild. yeah, you're a vicious bastard, and I'm glad you're dead. And then he would just say things that doesn't make sense. He was like, hey, Chucky, it's your Uncle Bingo.
Time to pay the check.
And then that little But I'm saying, so I even as a young age, I'm going, oh, this. And now the only reason that I thought there was any continuity between the animated series and the Burtonverse, which they said that it loosely was, just because of what they did with the soundtrack, and certain character designs.
Penguin had the
Penguin, but
flippers.
even then they normalized Penguin a little bit. And, they didn't have the DeVito
They never.
monstrosity.
That was so funny. They never mentioned his freaking hands. He's still like this crime boss.
Yeah.
No Red Circus Army or Red Triangle Circus.
He wasn't eating fish,
Right.
But so there is something to be said about that. There, so at the time that I was a kid, there were so many different iterations of this character already. But Commissioner Gordon was kind of always the same. I feel like Pat Hingle gets a bum rap because if you would have just kept him in the 89, and it would have been fine. But eventually he becomes like a legacy character where they just throw him in just to throw him in. I think by Forever, he's basically, it turns more into like the 66 iteration where it's like, oh, thank God you're here. Instead of, like, what do we got? Hey, if it's beyond my control, he gave us a signal. I'll put that signal on when we're in over our heads.
It really shows between the movies of Returns and Forever, there is definitely a character shift that they do with Commissioner Gordon.
Absolutely.
Because the whole point, right? When Batman comes in after the circus gang has attacked, he's walking with Gordon and they're talking, and he's like, "Oh, looks like the circus is back in town," and all this stuff. And then of course, Batman disappears. And then again, yes, exactly. First right there in Batman Forever, he's coming in, and it went 1966. Batman. Oh, thank God you're here. I mean, it's like
now the thank God you're here is Two-Face has taken over a bank. So like it still counts that there's a supervillain doing stuff, but like otherwise it was like you wouldn't even know that there is a police element by the time you get to Batman and Robin. You know what I mean?
To hold the fort until Batman gets there.
Yeah, it was like they're basically either there as fodder or to be captured, and that's fine if that's how you want to do it. That's very much how it was in 66. And so much so how they had to say in every episode, it was like, we are duly deputized, members of law enforcement. It was like they say it in almost every episode. It's I know I did a super cut of Robin's, holy this Batman, but like they say it pretty much just as much. They say it more than same bat time, same bat channel. That's only actually in a handful of.
And it was to establish that Batman and Robin were not breaking the law.
Yeah, well, they had to do that mostly because of the comics code of authority. So I believe in the Silver Age they were deputized. Which kind of disappoints.
I had to room with Batman in the academy, and he just would never take off that suit. He even slept in it.
Yeah, I was like, even after the days where we did the obstacle course, and a guy running around in a satin hood really seals in the flavor. But anyway, yeah. So I think Pat Hingle gets a bad rap. I think the next one we already covered Gotham, and now we're gonna get into one that we said was a very huge missed opportunity. And I do say I would have loved to see the Bat Fleck movie because we would have gotten a bigger part. But J.K. Simmons as Commissioner Gordon, and I have the picture right here.
Not perfect, but really good.
I got an image if you don't.
Oh yeah, if you want to throw the image, you probably got a better one than I do.
And such a great actor. He's got so much range. Yes, fuck it. J. Jonah Jameson he made that character almost as popular as Spider-Man. Not just a character in Spider-Man. He
did what Robert Downey Jr. did with Iron Man. He kind of he took this character that is like C-list, and then he gave an S-tier performance. And now granted, any iteration of J. Jonah Jameson is mostly, I don't like what they're doing with him nowadays, where it was just like,
Mhm.
oh, because he runs like an app instead of like
Yeah.
running a newspaper.
Yeah.
I'm sure they're going to do the same thing with Perry White. That's out of respect to the Snyderverse. I thought they handled Perry White very well in
I did
any
too.
adaptation of Superman, where
The-
I was like, the guy's still trying to run a newspaper. That's the most important part.
I thought, and Lawrence Fishburne was fine. He did really well, and
Yeah.
that could have been
I see
no
J.
problem with
Jonah-
that at all.
J. Jonah Jameson taking over a social media company in the next iteration.
Now, I do like how they keeping JK in the new Spider-Man movies and making him more of an Alex Jones type. I think that is clever.
Oh, and I like what they did in the Spider-Man video games. I'm really gonna have to make like a Spider-Man meme because like we always drift towards Spider-Man, but it's hard. Like you're talking about the other one in the Big Two's flagship character. There's going to be comparisons. But where he's more of like a podcaster type, where like every now and then you would get like a bulletin where JK's just behind the microphone and he is just riffing about that menace that's swinging around the New York City, like New York City streets. It makes sense because that's what he was doing in editorials. That's fine. That's a great way to translate that type of character over. Yes, but back to his portrayal of Gordon, like you said, his physique is fantastic. I do not know if I would want to sneak up on this version of Jim Gordon because I feel like
he looks highly. He walks a perfect line of being unassuming. You would think that you could get one up on him, but is actually extremely formidable. You've seen J.K. Simmons' fucking gym videos. Dude is
dude is jacked, and he has that like in what was that movie, Whiplash? I actually worked for a guy who was just like that, but he actually ended up getting escorted out of my work. He had like 21 indictments by the FBI. This guy was corrupt, but he was a psychopath. And you also realize that he's an actor with the chops of bringing that type of manic to his character, and he also has the control to be someone like Jim Gordon, who that's another thing that we failed to mention about Jim Gordon. Very cool under fire. This guy has
stoic.
He is a pillar of stoicism. Even Pat Hingle does it in the 89 thing where he just kind of goes, "Oh my God," and they're like, "Who is this guy?" And he's like, "I don't know, but until we find out, keep a lid on it." It's great.
With JK, I mean, we're just looking at the image too, is I think in live action, I think they've nailed a somewhat comic accurate in the sense of the look. I mean, just JK's got the proper, I think, facial construction for it. Mustache, the hair, everything I think is perfect. And then with his portrayal, and I definitely do agree that he was the missed opportunity. If they were to bring another Batman back, it'd be great if JK could return and reprise the role.
Yeah, and that's what I said. I'm upset about the Batfleck versus Deathstroke movie. That would have been a very interesting thing. Then now we will talk about. I never had an issue with this portrayal. Some people did, and that is Jeffrey Wright in the Batman. There's certain back and forths that they have where it's like thumb drive, and he's like, "Oh God, this guy's hilarious." Like it was like that felt like a Jim Gordon moment where
he acted it great. It's the aesthetic. It's like Jim Gordon is a older Irishman.
Yep.
Yeah, I honestly don't care about that casting there because it didn't feel like it was for woke reasons. It's the same reason that I didn't care about Billy D. Williams being Harvey Dent. I think that was a missed opportunity because, Billy D's got that swagger. I think we've talked about this before. I think Tommy Lee Jones playing Harvey Dent was a bigger missed opportunity because he just acted the character wrong. Billy D. Williams kind of, would have had a little bit more pizzazz that he would have put to it. That would have felt a little bit more organic than watching a completely unhinged Tommy Lee Jones when we know he's capable of being that type of stoic character who is probably a better fit for that character. That is something. But I didn't have a problem with Jeffrey Wright. That interrogation scene where he punches them and then gets out of there. And I love that little, you could have pulled that punch. And he's like, I did. Like, it was like there were parts like that really kind of felt like Jim Gordon. I also didn't like that Batman, who's like the third or fourth smartest person on Earth, didn't recognize a carpeting tool. What
a rat with wings was referencing.
Yeah, okay. The guy speaks like almost every single language. Like, I just got done rewatching Batman Ninja because the sequel came out. The guy got transported back in time to feudal Japan. And he's like, I appear to be in Japan, and everybody's still speaking the language because Batman knows the language, which is kind of like bullshit too. Like, I speak English, but like if you transported me back to like the Dark Ages, I would have no idea what other people were saying because people spoke different. Like, the dialect was different. Like, the term night, how they would say it, knit or the knit. So like people, you pronounced all the, so if you called him the DRK Knit, I wouldn't know what the hell you were saying initially. I would have to think about that. Oh, you mean Dark Knight. So, all these, language evolves. But Batman just goes right back to feudal Japan, and he was just like, oh, he can't figure it out because he can understand what everybody's saying. The guy's just brilliant. So, yeah, I don't think he would be outsmarted by a carpeting tool. And the third act of that movie didn't need to happen. You could have caught him in the diner, and that would have been fine.
Now, I will say this about Jeffrey Wright: he fit Gordon more than Robert Pattinson fit Batman. So
yeah, and we already talked about Robert Pattinson, his relationship with Alfred, which I thought, out of every depiction, maybe outside of the Amazon show Batman: The Caped Crusader, which we talked about that last week. I don't like. I in Batman: The Caped Crusader, technically that was fine, where it was kind of a more disjointed. He kept calling him Pennyworth. He was a little chubby. Alfred was kind of a chubby guy, and the whole thing where Alfred raised him. If you're doing it that early on in the war, that hadn't come about yet. The Wayne murders weren't a thing yet. Batman was just kind of a guy who wants to do these things. That's okay. It was you trying to bring 2025 politics and then branding it in a 1940s adaptation. Oh, thank you. Yeah, I mean, he's got the stash. He's got the look. Also, if you're gonna have him be Detective Gordon or Lieutenant Gordon, there needs to be a little less salt in his pepper because I only want to see a grayed out Jim Gordon when he's commish. When he's the commish. So I've been saving the best for last because I don't think there's any question where
here we go.
Yep. Gary Oldman as Detective Gordon is phenomenal. The man is a chameleon. He is by far, in a way, the best live adaptation of that character. Even though I think J.K. Simmons was a missed opportunity, there were no missed opportunities here, especially in the first and second film. Dark Knight Rises, there's problems all over that movie, but I guess I'm looking at this now. Jim Gordon is in the 1949 Batman serials, so he was played by Lyle Talbot. I'm not familiar enough with that to really comment on it. And back to Gary Oldman. Guy is just
the look, the way he acted, his relationship with Batman, everything was spot on.
Yeah.
Here we go. Here's a better one.
if you can nitpick some of the mistakes and some of the things with the entire Nolan series, that's not one of them. Maybe you could get a little critical about his character, of course, in the Dark Knight Rises, but that's that movie in a whole. But yeah, that's Jim Gordon.
I
There's
mean,
no
even the scene where the first like interaction they have together, where Bruce, he's not quite Batman yet, where he's got the stapler up to his head and he's like a
Yep.
gun, just cool, calm, and collected. I love one of my favorite lines in Batman Begins is "I couldn't find a mob boss." You know, when he makes the signal. There's so many good thing. He was like, you know, at the end of The Dark Knight, he was like, "You don't have to thank me." Yes, I do. You know, like you just saved my entire family. Yes, I do. He is a monolith in this corrupt city, and with this corrupt police department. He is a pillar of just doing the right thing. He's smart. You know, he's
capable.
utilizing this vigilante who everyone else has to see a problem with, but he, you know, he even says, he's like, I think you're trying to help. Let's see, Oldman seems like such a decent guy too. Yeah, it does.
Yes.
There's a pureness to Gary Oldman, and you know, basically this saved his career because he kept getting typecast as the villain, and you know, he's a wonderful actor. He does play a good villain. I mean, don't get me started on The Professional. Oh my god, he's unhinged in that movie. But you know, there's something that he just absolutely nails. There's
you can
there's
tell he
also,
takes it so seriously.
Yeah,
role.
but there's also a guilt too, where you know, you can tell that he's not spending his time at home. He's not the protector that they signed up to be. He's willing to fake his death and have his family suffer at the expense of, you know, finding some. Now, granted, it's for catching the Joker, who, you know, should be the end all say all. But oh,
we're gonna talk about Tiptoes.
Tiptoes. Friend of the channel, Tiptoes. Eraserhead, thanks for jumping in. But yeah, it is there's a pureness that he brings to the character, and once again, his incredible acting skills makes you kind of believe, oh well, if there was this cop in this situation and there was a man running around dressed as a bat, I guess this is how this character would handle it. And he doesn't throw you out of the movie. If anything, he adds to it. And you know, and even like moments of amazement where like he sees the Batmobile or just, you know, like the incredible stuff, the incredible feats, you know, when Batman goes to Hong Kong to get Lau, and then puts him there, like he plays it so well. And I mean, if you really want to get a good judgment on this character, I would watch the animated series. I would read Batman Year One, or I would watch Batman Begins, because that's where you're getting some of the purest adaptations of the character. We can do an off note too while we're talking about 66. There is also Chief Clancy O'Hara, who sometimes shows up, but he is the traditional Irish cop stereotype. That he does have one of my favorite lines in any Batman movie, and it's the Batman 66 movie. And for some reason or another, they're all using like word recognition to realize who the bad guys at play are. And he goes, "It's all one big giant riddle, Riddler." And that's how they discover that the Riddler is part of the cabal that's going after Batman. Friend of the channel, the cabal. Yeah, no, I think we nailed it there. I think we can kind of end there and taper off. I got a little treat for you guys at the end of the show here, but any final thoughts on Jim Gordon?
I just
Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead, dude.
Oh no, you're free. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, 100% agree. Between the animated series and the first two Nolan films, that's gonna be your best on-screen depiction of this character. Gary Wright did a great job, though. There's some issues with the aesthetic if you're used to the graying red hair, and just that's kind of the Gordon we're used to, but he played it well.
Yeah, he did.
And that's why he would be, as far as live action, he'd be my second, followed by Pat. But man, the Gary Oldman though, that elevated the character to such a degree that it's going to be really, really hard to top.
I follow kind of just in the same alignment there as Iron. I would say that the JK, I do agree, definitely wasted. I would be great if he could come back and reprise that role as Commissioner Gordon. It'd be great to see. And it is too bad that we never actually got to see him actually portray Gordon for a longer span.
Yes. Short-lived tenure on two incredibly divisive movies as far as comic book fans are concerned. I mean, with anything out of stuff like this, there's things that I enjoy about the Snyderverse. There's things that I very much don't enjoy. But I would say he's definitely a highlight in that, where there are so many characters that are mishandled. Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor is one that immediately comes to mind. Ezra Miller as the Flash is an abomination.
Just give JK and Jeremy Irons a spin-off movie with Alfred and Jim.
Yeah.
And we'll call it Butler and the Cop.
Yeah, Butler and the Cop. It'll be an Elseworlds tale.
Right.
I was gonna name this episode Top Cop, but I liked the Butler and the Cop so much that I just made it a part 2. We're going off. Guys, where are you gonna be for the rest of the week, or leading up into what we got going on? Iron, why don't we start with you?
Oh, sure. Right after this, in about an hour, I'll be over on Touchgrass with Theo Snodgrass. So looking forward to that as usual. I think we're going to be joined by Sean Thurrellify and Mom's Mystery and Mayhem. So that should be fun. And then later on this evening, I will be over on an affiliate of Whiskey Capitalist. Where is that channel link here? Lindy Rigg over on his channel, over on Rumble. And then after that, I got nothing planned for next week because that's the Vegas meetup. We might do some impromptu live streaming during or after the events, but nothing scheduled. So just follow us, all the guys and myself, and you'll know if that's going on or not. But that's about it. And then week after, back to Rogues Gallery on Wednesdays and Fridays.
Next up, I got producing over on Theo's channel for Touchgrass, Theo Snodgrass. And then I'm in the same situation. There will be no news, nerds covering the news next week because of the Vegas meetup. And there will be no insert title here on Friday this coming week. But we will return the following week at 9:30 PST on Friday. And then that same week, once we all get back from it, I have a weekly Rogues Gallery over on Iron's channel on Wednesdays at 5:35 PST. Let's see, and then we'll be back here not next Saturday, but the following Saturday.
Nice. I myself, yes, next weekend. Next week, I'm going to be gone, so there will be no Tinfoil Haters on Tuesday. There will be no Cave Cast next week. We'll get right back into it the following week. I'll talk with you guys backstage on what we want to do here. And there will be no news. There will be news this week, tomorrow at 9 p.m. EST. But also earlier this week, as some of you may or may not know, I'm a Detroit based musician. We did a live stream That didn't really that didn't really translate well. They sent us all the files, so I will be broadcasting that on my channel sometime this week. But as some of you guys and many of the messages that I got on Facebook, some of you could not find the link. That's because it was like it was only broadcast live on certain platforms. So I am going to end us off. Here is a live performance of me and my band Staggly. I will play a song for you guys. This one is called Cadu, and then after that we will wrap up the show, and you'll get that little intro that everyone likes. But right now it's only available on Facebook. I will be broadcasting this sometime, the full performance, sometimes this weekend on my channel, and you guys can hang out with me and ask me questions about it. But right now this song is called Cadu, and I hope you guys enjoy it.
We're gonna do 2 in a row.
This is a song about a street that sometimes you can walk on it, sometimes you can't. Tell me where to get them. So that is what we
Yeah.
have. I will have that performance up sometime, maybe later today. If you guys want to hang out with me during a live stream, if not, I'll just post the whole thing on if you guys want to stop by. But otherwise, that'll do it for Cavecast. We will see you all two weekends from now. So and by then we will surely have a topic to discuss. So as always, thank you so much, and I don't know, and see you soon.
Come on.
Yes, Batman, clad in the somber costume which has struck terror to the heart of many a swaggering denizen of the underworld.
Bob? Done.
Holy CinemaScope! Holy miscast Batman! Holy movie mogul! Holy cliffhangers Batman! Holy suborbit Batman! It's raining down there! Big history! Holy catastrophes Batman! Holy bullseye Batman! Holy stereo! Listen to this! Holy armadillos! Holy Krypton! Holy trampoline! Holy fork in the road! Holy Titanic Batman! Holy Houdini! Holy funny bone the Joker! Holy chutzpah! Holy precision! Come on, Worth!
Tomorrow, same bat time, same bat channel.
The monster who took you from me will soon learn that revenge is a dish best served